America's hostage policy is about to change. Tomorrow, the White House is reportedly set to announce that it will no longer stop American families from paying ransoms to hostage takers. That is something that America's Mayor Rudy Giuliani just told me we shouldn't be broadcasting anyone, let alone the world.
I handled kidnappings when I was assistant U.S. attorney, one very famous one. So I know what you go through with the family. And of course, if it were my son, my daughter, I'd want to pay the ransom. However, I have to point something out. We don't have very many kidnappings in the U.S. since the Lindbergh case because we don't pay ransom and because we do everything we can to catch the kidnapper, and the death penalty used to exist for a long time for kidnapping. It still could if the Supreme Court would rule the right way. Mexico pays. That's the rule in Mexico. You get paid for a kidnapping. They have thousands and thousands of kidnappings.
Is that a government policy?
That's a government policy, hands off. You know, you know that business people get taken. They got to pay $100,000, $200,000, $300,000.
So the government turns the other way.
This is my advice to the government of Mexico City: do not do it. The minute you start paying ransom, you're going to have more kidnappings. We had kidnappings in the U.S. before Lindbergh because we paid ransom. We've had very few kidnappings since Lindbergh because we don't pay ransom. You can't pay ransom. It is terrible. It's heartbreaking. You can pay ransom as part of a sting operation. I did that once.
But if a private family, Mayor,
private family should go right to the FBI. They know how to handle it.
But if they're going nowhere with the administration, nowhere going to the FBI.
Go right to Jim Comey.
Okay, but let's say, I mean, like you said, if it was your son or daughter, God forbid, well, I think what the administration is saying is you won't be committing a crime doing this.
Well, I don't know if it's a crime. Saying that you're doing it and you have this private little agency that does it is a big mistake. Hey, if you want to make an occasional exception, make it and have plausible deniability. But don't have a rule like this announcement that you can have kidnapping. I mean, you're gonna see. I mean, ISIS takes a look at this and says, "Hey, great, we just made ourselves $5-6 million."
And by the way, that's where they make the second only to oil. That's where they make all the
and then they turn it into making dirty bombs to kill us. So this is a very delicate thing and a very emotional thing. And I've lived through it, so I get it. I understand why the family wants to do it. But if they come to the FBI, what the FBI will do is they'll make it a ransom payment. But it'll be a sting operation, and we'll catch the guy who did it. And I participated in one of those that was enormously successful.
Let me ask you, Mayor, about, I mentioned at the outset of Bill de Blasio, the mayor now, he said that Donald Trump was not up to the standards of New Yorkers, paraphrasing here, that he doesn't represent New Yorkers' values. Now, you heard that, and I know you opposed Donald Trump in this trade, his opposition.
Donald Trump stands for New York a lot more than Bill de Blasio does.
Why do you say that?
Well, first of all, Bill de Blasio is basically a socialist, right? Redistribution of wealth. He calls himself a progressive. There's nothing progressive about the redistribution of wealth. It was invented by Karl Marx. It goes back to Hegelian philosophy. It failed 20 times. He's a retrogressive. He wants to take a failed economic policy, which failed in New York, by the way, until I became mayor, and he wants to reimpose it on the city.
Are you worried about what's happening again in the streets of New York?
Donald Trump is the epitome of American success. A guy who was handed a decent business by his dad, who grew it into an empire. And he did it, and I know Donald for 25 years, and he did it by hard work. A lot of his public relations, and people have different impressions of him.
I think the mayor is saying it's the bravado part, that's not the New York.
That's not New York? Did he ever meet Ed Koch? I mean, this guy comes from Boston.
Yeah.
De Blasio comes from Boston, and he's a socialist. Did he ever meet Ed Koch? His hero, LaGuardia. LaGuardia wasn't boisterous? LaGuardia was out of his mind.
Do you think he's running for president?
I don't know what he's running for, but he doesn't understand New York City, and maybe it is because he's from Boston.
Yeah.
If you don't think that Donald Trump represents New York, then you didn't think Ed Koch represented New York, Fiorello LaGuardia. There's a great cartoon of Fiorello LaGuardia walking into City Hall, and the minute he walks in, City Hall explodes because he was a bigger-than-life character. And New Yorkers love bigger-than-life characters. And if
But he also read the comics on the radio.
he read the comics on the
right.
radio,
It was a kinder, gentler son.
and Ed Koch walked across the Brooklyn Bridge, and I would march in every single parade. And
you did.
I would go on the bridge when the taxi drivers wanted to take the bridge, so they couldn't take the bridge. I never let anybody take my streets, take my bridges the way de Blasio.
But there were a lot of your critics who wanted to push you off those bridges too, right?
They never did, though.
Mayor, thank
My
you.
attitude was,
All right.
come on, try it.
Let's try.
Let's see who can take who.